Hello, dear listeners, and welcome. I'm your host, Americles. Today is a very exciting day because a federal judge has just ruled that the Department of Education is to implement the borrower defense rule immediately. That means that any pending applications and any future defense to repayment applications will be processed. Great news. So if there was ever a great time to apply for defense to repayment, now's the time. So today I'll be filing my defense to repayment application, and in the process, I hope to teach you how to file your own. Before we get started, I want to briefly touch upon what defense to repayment is and how it came about. So just bear with me for a second. So back in '95, the first borrower defense regulations for colleges were put in place. They were obscure though, and barely anyone took advantage of them. Then 20 years later, Corinthian colleges collapsed, and somebody found out about this so-called loophole, and people started filing borrower defense claims like crazy. And so the Obama administration then sought to streamline the process and set standards for reviewing the ever-mounting pile of applications. Their revamp was going to take effect in 2017, but the new head of the Department of Education, Betsy DeVos, put that on hold repeatedly, seeking to put restrictions on borrower defense rules. So her argument was that she didn't want taxpayers to foot the bill for colleges behaving badly, which is fine and all, but it's not like there is no precedent for the government bailing out an entity. The government happily bailed out too big to fail institutions during the Great Recession, so why can't we bail out the actual taxpayers who funded the damn bailout in the first place? So what is defense to repayment? It is a method for you to have recourse against your federal student loans if you believe you've been defrauded by your college. Fraud can be a nuanced term because if you look on their website, they explain that your application hinges on the school violating your state's laws, and that can pose a problem because some states have very strong consumer protection laws while others don't. And I believe that's what the Obama administration sought to fix, was to have a more streamlined process and have standards for reviewing these applications. But broadly speaking, if your school misled you about how much it would cost to attend, or about job statistics, or about quality of education, then you might have a good case. So for example, many of these for-profit schools would give you brochures with job statistics on them with really nice sounding numbers like over 90% of our students find employment in their field within 6 months making X amount of dollars. And it all sounds great until you reach the finish line, you have your degree, and you're shit out of luck because you can't find a job, and for the most part, neither can any of your alma mater, any of your fellow students, which tells you they are probably making those numbers up. So what happens? You file your DTR, which I'll get to in just a second here. No, I said second. Just bear with me. This is important. They give you the option of forbearance. Now, forbearance means you no longer have to pay anything on your federal student loans while you wait for your application to be approved or denied, but keep in mind that interest will continue to accumulate. So if your application gets denied and you fall out of forbearance, holy crap, all of a sudden you owe a shitload of interest that you've been accumulating while waiting for your application. So don't find yourself in that situation. And now, let's get to the exciting part and file the damn DTR already. Step 1, you're going to need to create an FSA ID by going to fsa.ed.gov. I provide the link below in step 1. You're going to need to fill out all the information, your email, username, password. They're going to ask for your social security number, a whole bunch of verification using your cell phone, and then security questions. And they also, if you need any help, they actually made a really good YouTube video that I can't really top. The link is also provided below, and it's right here. Need help creating an FSA ID. Once I submitted my application here, it took about 3 business days for them to come back with an ID. So it doesn't take very long. Of course, if you already have one, then don't do this again. Next, go to the second link I provided, borrowerdischarge.ed.gov/ a bunch of stuff, and log in. Once you have logged in, it takes you to this landing page. Go to submit an application, press continue. Section 1, just fill out the information. Obviously, I'm gonna black this out. All this has got is first name, last name, date of birth, social, email, address. Press continue. School information. So, yeah, obviously, your school, your city, state, when you attended, program, major, which degree you got, if you enrolled in multiple programs, and tell them if you graduated. The following page, section 3, other loan reduction or tuition recovery requests. If you made any other requests to get your loans forgiven, then obviously check yes. Me, no. All right, this next section is where it gets really spicy. This is it. This is where you build your case. So just imagine you are in front of a judge, in front of a jury. It is your job to convince them that you were misled by the college. So they ask you a detailed description, why you are entitled to borrow defense. Include the following info: what the school told you or failed to tell you, how the school communicated with you, whether brochure, online, yada yada. Name and title of people who you believe misled you, and why you believe you were misled. Upload documents, transcripts, enrollment agreements, promotional materials, emails, or your school's manual or course catalog. This can get rather complicated because you're going to need to hunt down a whole bunch of information that is not going to be easy. What do you do when your school closed? How do you obtain a transcript? So as far as your transcript goes, it strongly depends who owns now your college. So if you attended the Art Institute, you can request a transcript through Dream Center Education Holdings. There is a link to a PDF that I linked to below in step 3. And it's just a PDF. It's snail mail. It's for free if it's an unofficial one. It's a $7 charge if you need an official transcript. So just fill that out, mail that, and I assume they will get back to you. If you attended ITT Tech, they have outsourced their transcripts and diplomas through a website called Parchment. And through Parchment, again, you can click on pre-2001 and post-2001, and I assume once you go through this process and create an account, you will be able to obtain your transcript. If you attended some other for-profit college that has since shuttered its doors, just Google it. Google your school and transcript, and they are technically obligated by law to leave a trail behind for you. But if you can't find one, then you might need to put on your detective hat and start joining groups online, like Facebook groups of your fellow alumni, and just seek out the information. I'm sure somebody knows something. Let's say next you want to retrieve a brochure or career stats from your school. Problem is, of course, you probably graduated a long time ago and have since long lost those papers. You can use a tool called Wayback Machine. I'll show you how to use it here. Let's do artinstitute.edu. It's a website that lets you explore the website as it was at almost any point in its history. So let's say I want to look at what artinstitutes.edu looked like in 2009. And I click on any one of these snapshots here. Oh yeah, this takes me back. All right. You're going to want to look for something that says sitemap, because it's the easiest and quickest way to find career services. And I'm only using Art Institutes as an example. I'm sure you can do this with any other website, but it might take a good amount of exploring because Oftentimes these will appear very broken and just not working properly. Okay, here we go. Career stats. Go now to view recent graduate employment facts. Sure. And it gives you a list of all the schools. Let's see what they have to say about... Let's see if I can find anything for Art Institute of Dallas, Texas. And what do you know? Loads of PDF, and there we have it. We can submit this as part of the evidence that we collected. Another thing that might be useful is if your state filed a lawsuit against your school, use that as evidence. In my instance, my attorney general filed a lawsuit against Education Management Corporation, the parent company of Art Institutes, and you better believe it that I attached this entire lawsuit here as part of my application. So once you have uploaded all of your evidence, next up is employment prospects. Did the school mislead you or fail to tell you important information about promises of future employment, likelihood of finding a job, etc.? In my case, yes, very much so, because while they provided that nice little brochure that said 90% of students got jobs within 6 months and made X amount of dollars per year, I found myself unemployed and unable to enter the industry, despite the fact that I had good grades, graduated, and did everything I could to break into the industry. I did internships and everything. And I know I'm not the only one, because all the friends I had that went to school with me, they also had a very hard time to enter the industry or just completely failed at it. Moving right along, and again, the experience will be unique to you. I obviously cannot tell you what to write, but for example, program cost and nature of loans. Did the school mislead you or fail to tell you important information about how much your class would cost? In many cases, yes, they would tell you it would totally cover, student financial aid would totally more than cover you, when in the end, the school wound up costing twice as what you thought it would cost. Be very helpful if you had email evidence of that. Transferring credits, and this is a big one and a very common one. Did the school mislead you or fail to tell you important info about transferring your credits from this school to other schools? Oftentimes they would tell you that, yes, they are accredited, which would imply that you can transfer your credits anywhere, but if you then attempted to transfer your credits to another college and your application got denied, well, seems to me like they lied about their accreditation. So if you hit yes, obviously explain. Career services. Did the school mislead you or fail to tell you important information about the availability or quality of job placement, career services assistance, or the school's connections to employers within your field of study? This is, in my case, I'm going to fill this out because they often made the claim that students worked at these great companies. Oh, they worked at Apple, they worked at Bose. But if you pressed them into answering what these students did at those great employers, they would tell you, oh, they're doing tech support. They're answering freaking phone calls. What does that have to do with any degree you get? I didn't get a degree in answering phone calls, so that doesn't count. That doesn't count as in-field employment. So why the hell would they tell me that, oh yeah, these are great jobs and these are where our students work? That's misleading. Moving on, education services. Did the school mislead you or fail to tell you important information about educational service, such as the availability of externships, qualifications of teachers, instructional methods, or other types of educational services? This is them telling you that, oh yeah, we have these outstanding facilities, state-of-the-art, the best teachers with the best qualifications, and then you get there and they've got like a Commodore 64 for a computer. Not a good look. Admissions and urgency to enroll. Did the school mislead you about the importance of enrolling immediately, the consequence of failure to enroll, etc.? This is if you were talking to one of those so-called directors of admissions or admissions officers, and they hounded you and harassed you day in and day out about join the school, and if you didn't, you would lose out on a massive opportunity and you had to sign up right now. So if you have any sort of evidence of that, that would be a tremendous thing to attach and then explain here. And finally, do you have any other reasons relating to school that you believe qualify you for borrower defense, such as school failing to perform its obligation under contract, or that there's a judgment against your school in a federal court, a state court? I think this qualifies for, say, a lawsuit brought against your school, and if there was some kind of settlement or it's an ongoing lawsuit, I think this is a great place to explain such a thing. And in my case, my attorney general did sue the school, so I'm going to elaborate on that here, and I will explain to them, yep, they got sued by the attorney general for the following reasons. This section 5 here, talks about forbearance and stopped collections, and you have only two options here. Are you requesting forbearance/stopped collections? Yes or no. Now, forbearance, and I've talked about this before, is when the federal government puts your federal student loans in forbearance so that you do not have to pay them monthly anymore. But be aware that interest will continue to accumulate so long as your application is being reviewed. Stopped collections just means that if you are in default, the federal government will stop pursuing you for money. The last section pretty much reiterates your entire application, and finally you go to sign it. I mean, this is, of course, under the risk of perjury, so do not lie, do not mislead, you will be penalized, and you are basically assigning the U.S. Department of Education any legal claim you have against the school for those forgiven loans. Make sure that everything is truthful to the best of your knowledge, and then sign away. With that, you hit submit, they email you a confirmation, and they assign a number for your case, and off to the races it goes. Godspeed, I suppose. The only thing we don't really know or understand is what criteria they are going to be using to approve or deny these applications. Because remember, as of October 16, 2018, they have to begin reviewing these applications, but no one really knows who's going to be approved or denied. So hopefully the information I provided in this helps people get approved. But if not, and if some stories start trickling in of people getting approved and denied, of course I will make a new update video based on that. So I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. It really helps. Thank you.